Okay. Okay, friends, I am delighted to have who I can call a dear friend, my dear friend Sam, on today. We just checked and we have known each other since August of 2022 when
Yeah.
I got to be a guest on a podcast for the very first time on
Yeah.
Sam's amazing podcast, Be You Do You Do You.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like to start with just having people tell me, what does it feel like to be like in your human body on this planet at this point in time?
For me, the first word that comes to mind is liberating.
Mm.
It's been really liberating to learn what it means to be me authentically, what that looks like, what that feels like. Um, it's been a very fun and exciting journey, like I was just mentioning. A lot of changes, lots of twists and turns, and I just take it one day at a time, like one day at a time.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's been so many days to get to this liberating point, right?
Yeah, it's been so many days. I'll be 42 this year.
Hey.
Yay, yeah. I'm really excited about that because so many things have transpired and taken place. I've connected with so many wonderful people like yourself. Like you said, we've known each other for 2 years now, but it feels like forever. I just love your spirit, and that was a part of that has been a part of my journey is finding my tribe or my tribe finding me. And I feel like me being able to heal and let go of a lot of the crap that I was holding on to for so many years has not only freed me, but allowed me to attract my tribe because of who I'm being in this world, you know?
Yes, yes. It's like this inverse relationship between like how authentic you allow yourself to be
Yeah,
increases the likelihood of you finding people that are like a good, beautiful connection with you.
yeah,
Even though
yeah,
so many people are like, no, I'm trying to like get people to like me, so I'm trying to be more
yeah.
likable. But it's like the opposite is
It's a
true.
to it's the total opposite. When you are fully yourself, and I mean the quirks, the good, the bad, the ugly, like when you are truly, genuinely walking in your truth and being who you are, um, and intentionally, because it's all about intention too, you will attract the right people.
Yeah.
Because people are looking for you. They're waiting for you to show up as your true self anyway. But it's more so it was me. I was holding back because again, what are people going to think about me? What are they going to say? I cared so much about the thoughts and opinions of people, and
Mm.
that's kind of how Be You Do You came about. Because like I was at that point where I was like, you know what, forget people and their opinion.
Yeah.
If they don't accept me for who I am, then those aren't my people.
Yeah.
Those aren't my people.
That is such a huge moment. So, just be you, do you moment. We are both wearing your merch right now. We will
Love it.
definitely put links in the description. This is officially my favorite sweatshirt right now. Be
I
you,
love
do
it.
you is what it says. And it's in the infinity symbol, which my 12-year-old said, I don't know, maybe a few years ago. I think God is infinity. And I was like,
Smart
that feels
kid.
right.
Smart kid. Yeah.
Right? It was
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh. And I just I was planning on wearing this sweatshirt, but then I forgot and we were commenting on my hat and then I was like, "Wait, I need to do the whole gay thing."
You're
Um
actually coordinating the colors and everything.
yeah. I love it so much. Okay, so let's go back to that moment where you said the thing that you realized like at the beginning of the Be You Do You coming into life was like, oh wait, I need to let these other people's thoughts and opinions go. Like what was the like lead up to that? Maybe the couple of years before that when you were like struggling with the needing to worry about other people's thoughts and opinions.
The pivotal moment for me, I would say, was 2017. I feel like that was the beginning of my healing journey. Uh,
Mhm.
Something very tumultuous happened between my now wife and I. that kind of set the ball in motion. I went to jail. Uh,
Mm,
yeah, I went to jail because of my emotions or the lack thereof, not being able to control my emotions. But what I've learned over time is that there was information in my anger. There's information there. There were reasons why I was showing up the way that I was showing up. There was a reason why I was showing up, on the defensive, not being able to trust people. And that all stemmed from my childhood, not being able to fully express who I am. So a lot of that had been suppressed over the years. So, when I would get into uncomfortable situations, that was how I responded because of what I saw
mhm.
growing up. So I thought that that was how relationships were supposed to be. So when that situation happened in 2017, I had to sit down with myself and say, listen, what is it that you really want in your life? How do you
Mhm,
want to show up? How do you want to be for your spouse? Like, what does
mhm.
that look like? And then we both started counseling together and in individual therapy for like almost 2 years. Yeah, so not only did we work on our own stuff, but we worked on our stuff together
Wow.
because we were for certain that we didn't want to keep repeating the same cycles that we saw growing up. Like we wanted something totally different and we wanted to do
Mm,
it on our own terms and we
mhm.
wanted to define what partnership looked like for us.
That is so incredible.
Yeah.
Now, in that, like, lead up to that, like, "Okay, I am in jail" moment,
Yeah.
it doesn't sound like you were, like it doesn't sound like you had been given the resources to understand options like
No.
therapy and learning skills in therapy, is that right?
Um, I had been in and out of therapy for like years. So like I moved out of the house when I was 22 and I got into like one of my very first long-term relationships. I lived in San Francisco at the time, so I had access to a lot of resources and that was when I started seeking resources for gender transition. But again, life was occurring. I had to, work, and life had to come first, not my mental health and things that I had been dealing with throughout the years. So I kind of had to set that on the back burner. But I had been, in and out of therapy for years since I was 22, but I wasn't intentional about it. It was almost like I was just going like on autopilot, just going to check off the box. Like, okay, yeah, I showed up and I learned a few things, but I really wasn't applying what I was learning.
Yeah, yeah,
That makes
and
sense.
yeah, it does, and I think there's that element where, like, you can't until you can. That's what makes
Right.
these personal stories so fascinating to me and allows me to let go of a lot of the, like, shame around the timing of, like, when I actually was able to be intentional. It took, like, so long, and like you, I
Yeah.
was in, like, 20 years of therapy before any of it started clicking,
Right.
and there's this piece that I feel, and anybody who listens to this is gonna be a little sick of me saying this, but I feel like there is an element of, like, divine intervention. There's, like,
Yeah.
some miracle that occurs that, like, allows you to, like, suddenly see things in a different way, and you're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, now I think I could do this," you know?
Yeah.
Was the jail moment kind of like that for you?
You hit the nail on the head and you chose the perfect word. It was a divine intervention. It was something divine stepping in and telling me like, this is not, this is not the path for you.
Yeah. This isn't you.
This isn't you. And
Mm,
I had to figure it out. And I was determined. My wife and I, well, now we're married now, but we were determined to figure it out. And then a year later, we got connected with a church community.
mhm,
And um, that was a part of my like dream and goal as well, was to be able to connect with a spiritual community that loved us, accepted us, where we could feel at home. And
mhm.
that happened a year later.
Mm, I didn't know that part of your story.
Yeah.
Without trying, like most everybody who I've connected with on this podcast has
Mhm.
had some sort of, like, faith-based situation that either, like, they had to end a relationship with a faith-based community because of something that happened in their life, and then, like, really struggled until they were able to reconnect with that
Yeah,
divinity and that spirituality
yeah.
without the like trauma that had happened from before. Was that an element of your story? Had you
That
had
was
like a spiritual community before?
yeah, yeah. So I grew up in a church family. Everyone in my family are believers, uh faith-based. So I grew up in a household. My mom is a Christian. Everyone they identify as Christians, right?
Mhm.
And I struggled with that. I struggled with that growing up because again, we didn't talk about sexuality at home. We didn't talk about emotions. We didn't talk about any of those things that were important, right?
Yeah.
And I understand now why, my mom was a single parent.
Mhm.
Um, my dad was in and out, but he succumbed to drug addiction. So he, during the 80s, the crack epi I don't know if you're familiar with the crack epidemic,
For
but
sure.
that was rampant in the urban communities. And so my dad was one of those persons to get addicted. And so he was out there on drugs, primarily a huge part of my life. So my mom had to be, the provider, the protector, all these things. And so we didn't talk about sexuality, orientation, gender. What is that? It's either man, woman, you're going to get married, have kids, the those generational things.
Yep.
And I just knew at a very young age that that just wasn't my life. I didn't align with those beliefs at a very young age. It just didn't seem right for me. And
Mhm.
so, I had to navigate that part on my own, but I've always been a person of faith.
Mhm. Yeah, you were like, "This part sounds like it's a disconnect, but
Mhm.
the, like, faith or the divine or the connection with meaning
Yeah,
outside of myself, like, that feels like that's me."
yeah,
But then
yeah.
this part is saying, like, "I can't have that." I
No.
mean, I'm putting words into your mouth, that was my experience. Like,
No,
how
yeah.
how did you deal with that disconnect?
It was an ongoing wrestle. It got to the point where like I didn't want to have anything to do with God, and then I did want to have something to do with God, but I realized that I feel like there was a lot of chaos going on in my life too. But when I had that connection, things seemed much easier.
Mhm,
And so that's what I desired. Like I desired that ease versus that
mhm,
that chaos. But I realized I had to go through that chaos to get to where I'm at
mhm,
now.
mhm. To reconcile it all, yeah.
Yeah.
And so this church that you all were exposed to in
Mhm.
the sort of post jail experience, did they offer you like a reconnection in a way that felt
Oh my God.
more true for you?
It was so powerful. Like the first the first the first Sunday we chose to go. So just the backstory on that, we had stopped going to church for about a year, a good year, almost 2 years, because the
Mhm.
church we were going to, it just wasn't working. The church that we were going to previously was still the church that my family attended. That same
Mm.
that same belief system, and I was just getting tired of it because
Yeah.
I wasn't feeling like I was getting fed, and I wasn't feeling like I could actually apply the principles to my life. And so we
Mhm.
stopped going. And then that stopped, and as we stopped going, that was when the chaos came back. And so I was online. I listened to it's called the Gospel Radio Show. It's a radio station out here in the Bay Area. And the pastor of not the church I attend, so my pastor's brother would be on this radio show.
Okay.
And I took it upon myself to look him up because I was like, this guy is just so dope, right? I
Mm.
got I gotta know more. And so when I read his biography, he said, regardless of your gender, your sexual orientation, your race, everyone deserves a relationship with Christ the divine.
Mm.
And that was the message I was looking for.
Mhm.
And so fast forward, we showed up one Sunday, but it just so happens that my pastor's wife was preaching.
Mhm.
And that was another belief growing up. Women
That
don't,
women couldn't do that. Yeah.
women can't do that. And I
Yeah.
was just like, okay, let me see what this is about. And the sermon was titled Big Mad. So this was a year later after my jail incident. The title was Big Mad, being mad at God for the things that are going on. Yeah, going on in your life. And I mean, the
I like
floodgates
full
open.
body chills right now.
Yeah, the floodgates just opened. And I just broke down in tears. And I
I'm
was just
sure.
like, this was confirmation that we
Yeah.
were in the right place. And then the following Sunday was when I met my pastor, Bishop Johnny Clark Jr., good friend of mine, family to this day. Such a constant encourager and has played a huge part in both my wife and I's life. Um, I
Hmm.
just I shake my head in disbelief every time because I never thought that I could ever create such a relationship with a pastor
Yeah.
in that magnitude. And so the following Sunday was about BS. So releasing the belief systems. Like that was literally the next sermon. And then the next
Wow.
sermon, it was like sermon after sermon was literally our life, like being played out. It was so crazy. Like I can't even,
Yeah. It's
yeah,
not
there's no
crazy
word.
though. It's like incredible that there's no feeling of love
Yeah,
deeper than when you start to see life like
yeah,
giving you things that are so hidden within you that no one could ever know, that are
yeah,
so like curated to answer your deepest darkest like moment, and you're like, what is happening? Like this play is about me.
yeah, yeah. It's definitely mind. It's definitely mind blowing. Like I
Ugh,
sit down to this day, like wow. I look back from where I started, where we started to now, and it's completely night and day difference.
so extraordinary. And that's something that's so important to me, is that, you know, no matter where you're at, like literally no matter where you're at, there
Yeah.
is possibility. Like always. And I spent so much of my life being like, well, I'm just going to end up like dead by suicide or in
Mhm.
an institution. Like that's all I can see. Like that's
Yeah.
all I was told for so
Yeah.
long.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, oh my gosh, there is possibility for every single human in every single circumstance. And this
Yeah.
piece about the divine intervention and like this divine knowing us
Yeah.
so well and allowing for us to go through all of the time where we're like totally disconnected, and being like so chill about just like when you're ready, like when you're ready,
Yeah.
like there's no pressure.
Yeah.
And there's also like so much innocence in like allowing the so-called bad parts to
Mhm.
be the like perfect recipe for making the now life
Yeah.
that you so appreciate.
Yeah. And I mean, I used to say bad, but it's I hear a lot of people say pain and purpose. There's pain in purpose.
Mm. And not that like agonizing suffering kind of
Not
pain.
no,
It's like that
not the agonizing.
pure, yeah.
Yeah, it's like the push for us. It's pushing us towards the possibility
Mhm.
because the God that I know, the God that I've learned about, like he never paid attention to our weaknesses. They always paid attention to our possibilities.
Mhm. Mhm.
But we get so stuck on focusing on our weaknesses
Mhm. Or even
or,
seeing
or seeing it, yeah,
it as weaknesses.
seeing it
Like
as weaknesses.
I
Yeah,
feel like that is like a universal consciousness perspective, is like, oh no, like all of it is a part of it. Like
yeah,
none of it's a weakness or a problem.
none
Like
of
it's
it.
all balancing itself out.
I don't look at any of my journey as a weakness because now that I look back, I needed to go through the things that I went through to prepare me for where I'm going.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even though I didn't understand it now, I'm understanding it better now.
Mhm.
It's all making sense, even with the people. who I no longer associate with. Like that was a part of the lesson in the journey,
Yeah,
you know.
it's so wild, right? I feel like you remember those things in the 80s that were like at the dentist office and they had like a picture and it was all just look like dots and you were supposed to stare at it and then like an
Oh,
image would come out.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It
Okay.
was
Yeah,
like
yeah,
a T-Rex, right?
yeah. Right, right, right.
I feel like lately there's been moments when I feel like I've been staring at that for my whole life and like all of a sudden I'm like, "Oh wait, I think I see something." Like
Yeah. Now your vision is clearer. And I mean, even like you're not even the same person I met 2 years ago.
oh my God.
Not at all, you know?
Not at all. I hadn't started hormones then, I
No.
realized when I was looking back. I hadn't started hormones. I think I had just had like, I think I was like 6 months. No, maybe it was a year. I think I can't ever remember when I got my top surgery. It
Don't
was
it's such a
after.
blur. It's a blur.
Yeah, it was after definitely, but it wasn't super long after. And I
No.
was feeling like still really unsteady in like claiming my
Right.
transness. Like I was feeling very like, I don't know, like I was so intimidated by the like binary trans world that I was still like
I agree.
wonky.
I feel you on that. I was too, like when I first started in 2018. Um, but it's a figuring out phase, right? Like there's no complete guide. Like we all have our individual journey as trans individuals. So what it looks like for you may not be what it looks like for me. And that's okay.
Well,
Like I
that's
had to embrace that, you
yeah.
know? Yeah,
Again, the like be you do you is not like
right.
be you in a version that fits with a script that a bunch of other people are following.
Right. It's be you in your own, be you, do you in your own script.
Yeah. Yeah,
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 So I want to come back to this like lie that we can ever be separated from God or from divinity. And it sounds like, you seem to see really clearly like when I am in connection with that divinity, like I can do this human thing more
Mhm.
solidly. When I am not, it becomes chaotic. So like what other than, being in a church community, what are the other things that you do to like maintain your connection with that power that's however you define God, that thing that's bigger than you or that meaning outside of you.
Prayer and meditation for sure. Journaling has definitely helped me. Putting my thoughts to paper. Anything that might come up for me, like writing has also been life saving. That wasn't something that I grew up doing. Again, those tools weren't available like that. That
Yeah,
wasn't a priority for my mom to teach because again,
she
she
didn't
was
have it.
she didn't have it. So when I got introduced to personal development, that's pretty much when I started getting into these practices um, more fully. I was praying before, but now my prayer is more like conversation.
Mhm.
Like I'm not begging, I'm not asking, you know what I'm saying?
It's not Santa Claus
It's
anymore.
not, no, I'm not rubbing on this, I'm not rubbing on some genie and hoping that my life is going to transform. I come from a place of gratitude and thankfulness now, which I feel like I have to be, I feel like that's one of the ingredients is being grateful for where I'm at and present and aware, and then everything else will fall in line.
Mhm.
And that's pretty much how my life has been unfolding.
If you feel comfortable sharing, I know that this past year has brought like another set of
Yeah.
growth opportunities, if we want to call them that.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to share a little bit about some of that experience and how, it sounds like you were had like much more preparation for this. This wasn't like a rock bottom in the same way that the jail experience was.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, sure. So let me back up a little bit. Let me rewind. Um, so after we got connected to the church in 2018, a situation with my job happened in 2019, which I can't really go into too much detail about that because it's
Yeah.
still an ongoing process. But 2019 was another moment in my life where I was in complete solitude and isolation. This was right before COVID. So I was
Mhm.
already getting prepared for whatever else was about to happen.
Yeah.
Um, so 2019, that's when I got connected to personal development. I had no idea where it was leading me because I had no idea. I didn't know anything about entrepreneurship, multi-level marketing. Like I always saw my life go to school, graduate, get a degree, and work for someone else. So working for
Employee.
myself, starting a business was never in my wheelhouse, right? I thought I was going to work for someone, retire, and then die.
Yeah.
That was my mindset.
Yeah.
So I had just my wife and I had just got back from feeding the homeless on a Saturday. Um this is a long story. You don't mind? You have time?
Yeah, let's do it.
So we had just come back from feeding the homeless. I stopped at a gas station and there was this guy standing outside. I thought he was selling Girl Scout cookies because he was with some kids or whatever. You see people outside the gas station, you're trying to avoid them at all costs.
You're
So
like
that was my
you're like
so
smile kindly
that
but
was
walk quickly.
yeah, so that was my thought. So I was able to get in, but then when I came out, he pulled me into a conversation. And the conversation started with some similarities. He too had the same kind of car I had. So that kind of like sparked the conversation. I found out he was a successful real estate agent and he was always also into multi-level marketing. And so he gave me information. I was like, okay, sure, I'll check it out. Cause I'm that type of person, like, I'm not just gonna blow you off.
Yeah.
If something's intriguing, I'll look into it. So I looked into multi-level marketing. It was around credit restoration. Well, in the past, I've had some pretty jacked up credit. So I was like, okay, this is something that I could do. I have a lot of knowledge in, but little did I know that my connection with him was the start of my personal development journey. It was the start into developing a completely different mindset. It
Hmm.
wasn't about the credit. Like I
Mm-mm.
thought it was about the credit. I thought it was about building this team and making money, but
So
it
this is just a
wasn't.
vehicle for
Yeah, and he was a believer too, a man of faith. So that was another like divine intervention. And then 3 months later, in 2019, I get let go from my job,
Mhm.
right? 3 months later, my wife and I had just bought our house,
Mm.
our first house together, and I get let go of my job.
Oh
Same job I'm
gosh.
going through this situation that I can't really go into
Yeah,
detail
yeah.
with. So I'm in isolation. My pastor and I, we start building our relationship, working out together every day. Like he's my spiritual counselor, like this whole time that I'm out of work, right? And it's just building me up. It's building me up. It's getting me prepared for whatever's next. And then I get my job back. I'm back in my job. And then a year later, COVID hits.
Mm.
And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So then we're shut down again. And so it was either I panic, buy up all the toilet paper and Clorox, or I
Which
take
I did.
right. Um, a lot of us did, and this is,
I have
I
no
mean,
shame about
I'm
it.
not teasing anyone, but I'm not teasing anyone, but it was in that moment again. It was that question for me, like, what do I want to create in my life?
Yeah.
And I had started investing back in stocks. I had opened up a brokerage account in 2011 when I started working for the state of California, but I wasn't doing anything with it. And
Hmm.
so when COVID hit, I just started buying up all the stocks, like all the stocks, all the stocks, all the stocks. And I built up a pretty good nest egg. And I took that investment and I invested it in myself by hiring a life coach. And that's pretty much what started this whole personal development journey. That's pretty much what helped me build the confidence that I already knew was inside me. Um, that was what was able to help me get rid of the beliefs that I had previously and create my own. Because I didn't even think that I could create my own beliefs. I thought I
Right.
stuck with the old ones. And so, yeah, I mean, from that, I was able to I started my podcast, my merchandise. That confirmed my purpose too as a coach and healer. And I'm now back in school for my master's of clinical counseling. So yeah, sometimes it doesn't make sense. It didn't make sense to me at the time. Like I said, I thought it was like dealing with credit and building a team,
Yeah.
but it was so much deeper than that.
I love how
I probably just rambled a lot, but
no, it's beautiful. It's beautiful because it's a perfect example of how like we don't know
Mhm.
what it's like that thing. It's like we don't know what the end picture is.
Right.
And so we're looking at all these dots and we're like, what is this? Like if you
Yeah.
saw somebody creating that along the way, you'd be like, what are you even making? Like what? None of this makes sense, you
Yeah.
know? But it's
Yeah.
like that coming back to that, like, okay, I'm gonna choose to believe that there's like this divine thing happening, and I'm gonna like
Yeah.
come back to my prayer and my gratitude and my meditation and my journaling and my working out and my meeting with people who I look up to and who I share values with. And like, I'm gonna come back and I'm just gonna like do the work, even though I don't see it making sense outside of me. And then like somehow you're like, oh,
Yeah.
like I couldn't have even known what life coaching was if I hadn't like randomly that day had the same car as this guy who was at a gas station. Like
Yeah.
that's so
Yeah.
many like it's like when you get to the end of a mystery movie and you're like the yellow coat, like it all makes sense and you're like what? And then you think about that writer who put all those details together. And it's
Yeah.
like that's what's happening for us.
And that's what happened that day. And the guy that I met at the gas station was actually connected to my life coach that I hired.
And
Like
of course.
yeah, he had done some life coaching work with him. And so that's how I met my life coach. Cause I was like, what is it that this guy had? Whatever this guy
Yeah.
had,
How
I
did you
need.
get this? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Amazing.
fascinating.
Amazing. And, you know, each piece of it, I feel like makes us more willing to accept the like bad things, right? Because you're going through a work thing right now, right? And I don't see you interacting with that with the like, ah, the house is on fire, you know?
No, not anymore because I have that mindset now that this too is for my purpose. Like I'm choosing, you know, like my wife constantly encourages me, but she also acknowledges, you know, those times where I am like house is on fire because
Yeah,
both can exist, right? I do have
totally.
days where the house is on fire and I want to get out.
Yeah.
But then I come
Please
back
let me out.
like let get me out of this. But you know, there's stuff to be learned in that process. And then,
For sure.
like I said, I just continue to focus on this is all for the purpose. This is all for the purpose. This is all for the testimony. This is helping so many other people, not just me.
Yeah.
Um, I make it less about me and more about the collective.
Yeah. And you make it mean something that
Yeah,
makes it easier to move through it. And I have been saying lately, like, if I'm delusional, so be it. Like, I feel better, you know, like,
yeah, yeah. Like own all of it. Own all of what you're feeling. Like it's okay. Like we've been so conditioned to run away from feeling, and
mhm,
that's why we interact with people the way we do. It's like own if you're angry, own it. If you
mhm,
if you're sad, own it. If you're frustrated, own it. You know, whatever's coming up for you, like it's okay to feel that.
mhm. Yeah, it's so important because so much of the like manifesty, like live on purpose world will tell you, like, you don't say anything negative, don't feel anything negative. And it's like, it's not negative. It's there, like you said at the beginning, it's there for information.
Yeah,
It's really important information. So
yeah.
how do you for yourself like balance and take care of when that stuff comes up, when those feelings come up, or when that fear, like the house is on fire, when it starts to feel really uncomfortable? How do you take care of yourself and make space for that and resist that urge to just like drive past it and be like, no, I'm living on purpose.
Perfect example the other day, I had a lot of houses were on fire. Like I
Mm,
was totally overwhelmed. Um, but I had to remind myself that I'm still alive. I'm actually not in danger. And then I went for a walk. And then
yes.
I also have mentors and coaches still. So it's always good to be connected with like-minded individuals. Um, like I said, prayer and meditation, journaling, but definitely connect with a tribe, a support group. I also do therapy still, which helps a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a therapy where they're giving me the answers because we have the answers. They're inside of us. Um, my therapist helps guide me to
Mm-hmm.
those answers
Mm-hmm.
that I already know are
Mm-hmm.
there. But I have a therapist who I meet with and mentors,
Yeah.
people who are important to me, people who are going to hold me accountable, as well as encourage me, as well as ask those, those tough questions. Like, what is it really? Like,
Yeah.
what is really going on inside you? Like, why do
Mm.
you really feel, like maybe someone's out to get you? Like, why do you really feel that way? Did you feel
Mm-hmm.
like this growing up? Like, I invite you to investigate that. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
and I do a lot of investigation now, where in the past I didn't know anything about it because I didn't have tools or resources.
Right.
I wasn't living with intention.
And you didn't know how to,
I didn't know
and
how,
yeah.
and
And
I'm okay with that.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I don't beat myself up for that. Like now that I do have the knowledge and the resources, even still, I don't beat myself up if I don't get it right every
You're
day
right.
because there's no possible. Like some days I'm like,
Uh,
F this.
right. Exactly. I mean, just 2 days ago, my kid went with my ex for like the winter break. And so I have, 7 days with no kid. And I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna like do all this meditation. I'm gonna do all this personal development. I'm not gonna watch any TV. So I text my accountability partner. I'm like, just so you know, like no TV this week. Like I'm just like super amping up my meditation.
Mhm.
3 hours later, I'm like texting him. I'm like, the TV is on. Just letting you know the TV
Yeah,
is on.
yeah,
And like letting myself be
yeah.
where I'm at. I feel
Right.
like be you, do you, where you're at, like and balancing that like, okay, yes, I want to live with intentions. I want to stay connected with the people that help remind me who I want to be. I want to stay connected to my values. And like being a human on this planet right now is super complicated.
Super complicated. Complicated is an understatement, but I do both. Like
Yeah.
I hadn't gone to the gym for about a week. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I was okay with that. Like my body needed a rest,
Yeah. Yeah.
because my brain is constantly going. And
Right.
so I needed to shut it down.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah. It's beautiful. It's that acceptance, right? It's the like, whatever is, like, I'm not gonna like fight me.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, because if I had gone to the gym, I would have had an attitude. I would have been, like, F these weights, like, and that would just make it worse. So why not just not go and then just approach it another day? And that's what I do. Because like I don't want to do something that doesn't feel good. Like it
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't have felt good for me to show up with a negative attitude. And
And
so
lit.
I don't suggest forcing yourself to do
Yeah.
something that doesn't feel good.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
lately I've been having this image, because as you know, I'm in like a new training program and just finished one in December. I'm like such an overachiever. I'm constantly trying to be the good student. I'm like, sign me
is
up
that a
for a
Virgo?
hard
Are you
what?
a Virgo?
I'm not. I'm like a quadruple Pisces.
I
I'm
was gonna say,
like
is that a Virgo?
Pisces everything. I don't know what that means about me, but I just like really scared of being in trouble and someone striking me with lightning. So
Not the lightning.
oh my gosh, yeah. So I just lately have been having this image of
Mhm.
like all of the roads lead to the same place. Like I just keep seeing this thing and like it's just like a bunch of roads and there's just like one middle
Mm,
place. And it's
mm,
like, okay, if I go to the gym and I'm pissed at the weights, or if I stay home, like I'm coming back to me. Like I'm coming back to me. I can't fuck it up. Like I can't get it wrong.
yeah, yeah.
I just every road, every whether I do the meditation or I do the TV, like it's all leading back to me. And and as we've like really been able to see through this whole conversation, like there is a divine force that is bringing me back to wholeness. Like I just feel like it's gravity. Like I don't feel like we can stop it from happening.
You can't. And it's also something that you can't really put into words. And I don't think that the universe intended us for us to do that.
Right? The universal consciousness is like watching us all like hyper analyze this. And we're like having
Yeah,
like 22,000 conversations. And we're like, but is it all okay? And can we put this into a philosophy? And can we
right.
like nail down what God is? And universal consciousness is like cracking up.
Like seriously, I don't feel like they want us to over analyze. They simply
No.
just want us to be and love. Like that's I think that's truly
Oh my
what
gosh.
the answer is. And we're making it complicated
Oh my
because we are
gosh.
humans. That's just a part of the human experience is to complicate.
Right? Just like exhaust ourselves. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Oh my
And we're
gosh.
always trying to figure stuff out.
Yeah.
But then that also goes back to the power of the universe is
Yeah.
they gave us that ability to figure
Mhm.
stuff out,
Yeah.
right? But it's such
Oh,
mind a
it's a
mind.
hoot. It's a really good movie. It
Yeah,
just is
it's a
a
good
really
movie.
good movie.
Yeah, yeah. What's the theme of our movie? Is it action? Is it horror? It's a
Oh,
combination. It's
yeah.
romance. It's romance. It's comedy.
It's
It's
reality
comfort.
TV.
It's yeah, yeah.
More drama, the better.
I I have noticed that the more drama you have, the more attention people pay to you. But I
Oh my gosh.
prefer less drama though. I'm too old for the drama.
No. More
Nah.
drama.
Like like they're the saying, save the drama for your mama.
Mhm. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, Sam, I just love this conversation. I love you so much. Thank you so
Too.
much for being a part of this. Tell the people where they can find you, how to connect with you, where to get this super cool
Um,
merch.
yeah, so where you can find me, I'm trying to be more active on social media. I also like to take breaks because it's necessary. But you can mostly find me on Facebook at Sam V as in Victor Castle.
Okay,
That's
we'll put
spelled
it all
exactly
in the
like the
description.
yes, it's spelled exactly like the building. I'm also a life coach as well, but my website is being revamped. But you can always send me a DM message on Facebook.
Perfect.
I do have Instagram. It's BU_1, same as TikTok.
Nice.
Um, TikTok is where I mostly have my podcast episodes, but like I said, I am trying to get a little become a little bit more engaged and involved in social media. But that's a task in itself. And then I have BU Do You merchandise. Let me go into my phone. I don't know, they don't make this so easy, but
Yeah, just
let's
you
put
just
that in the
email it to me and we'll put it.
yeah, I'll email it to you. It's not my own website, it's through a third party.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can attest, when I got this, I texted and was like, I don't know if this paint's gonna hold up. And then it totally has. I've watched it like 1,000 times and
Yeah,
it's
it's
great.
great quality. I'm rocking one now. I'm a red and black one. I
Yeah.
have all different types of designs. You can get coffee mugs, cell phone cases now, sweatshirts, hoodies, all of your BU Do You merchandise. It's a movement. It's a movement.
Yeah. Uh-oh, I'm just gonna spend all my money on this now. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hang out for a second. I'm just gonna end the recording.
All right.